Next on UConn Sports Nation, 4 days until the spring game at the Rent. I'll tell you what to look for as the football Huskies get set to showcase their new offense. UConn baseball vaulted into the rankings 1 week ago thanks to the stellar pitching of junior Wills Montgomery. I talked with him about the Huskies' hot start. And more UConn football as the program played host to some high-caliber recruits on Saturday. St. John Bosco quarterback Real Mitchell was one of them, and he discussed his visit and future plans. All that and more. Let's go! Your host on jam-packed Tuesday edition of UConn Sports Nation, which is available on iTunes, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Going to be talking UConn football as well as baseball, but obviously I want to start with the spring game this Friday night at 7 p.m., which is at the Rent in East Hartford. Going to be the unveiling of the new offense under offensive coordinator Rhett Lashley, and of course the return of former head coach Randy Edsall to the UConn sideline. I don't think you're going to see the entire offense this week, as really only a portion of the install has been complete on the offensive side of the ball. But you're really going to get a sense of the tempo the Huskies plan to move at come late August when they open the season against Holy Cross. Now, a sophomore quarterback Donovan Williams out after surgery to repair that meniscus injury he suffered earlier in the spring. It's likely only going to be Brandon Bisak, who's the number one quarterback at this point, and Bryant Sheriffs, obviously the starter from the last two season openers. For the majority of the game, particularly really in the first half, you might see some of the other guys, Will Reschel, in the second half. But key players to really keep an eye on offensively outside of quarterback includes a lot of young players, both on offense and defense. Offensively, I'm really a big fan of wide receivers Quavon Skanes and Keon Dixon, and the two young running backs as well, Jakevius Vickers and the reigning Scout Team Offensive Player of the Year, Nate Hopkins from 2016. They're all back, they're all young, and they're all redshirt freshmen this season. And those four skill guys, I think, are going to be ones to watch this Friday. They're going to be the most interesting players to watch, I think, as they're going to be really a key part of the offense as we start moving towards the 2017 season. I think you're going to be impressed with the speed of Keon Dixon. Obviously, he was a sprinter at Glastonbury. The elusiveness of Quavon Skanes. I put out some quotes from Donovan Williams earlier this week, where he was really talking about Skanes might be the best route runner on the team, and he's only a redshirt freshman, like I said. So he and Dixon bring a lot to the wide receiver position. Skanes is more of the slot guy. He's a little smaller. Dixon, the deep threat on the outside. And then at the running back spot, shiftiness of Vickers and really call Hopkins exactly what it is. He's a big running back. He's a physical running back, comes from the state of Texas. I'm interested to see how Coach Edsall and Lashley, utilizes Hopkins. Vickers is very shifty, makes moves in the hole, has the speed to break it for a very long run and take it to the house. Being at practice all last season, I was overly impressed with Vickers, with Skanes, with Dixon, and Hopkins obviously stood out, like I said, Offensive Player of the Year from the Scout Team all of last season. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, a major replacement, Chris Britton, has really emerged after the injury to linebacker E.J. Levenberry, of course, the transfer from Florida State. Went down with an ACL injury. Remains to be seen what exactly is going to happen. It's going to be, I don't think he can be ready for the season opener, which is just 4 months away now. He had surgery a week ago. That's more like a 6-month recovery period, which would be about 2 months into the season. If he misses the entire year, would UConn potentially apply for a 6th year of eligibility? He's already sat out his transfer year, so he would, in the school, would have to apply for another year of eligibility for him to get that 6th year. Otherwise, he's going to be pushing himself to try to come back this year, and with ACL injuries, you really aren't fully back until a year after your surgery. So that's going to be an interesting scenario to see play out, but by all accounts, Randy Edsall is very high on Chris Britton. I'm going to have a profile on that leading into the spring game. And then a true freshman. The only true freshman here in the spring playing on Friday night is Omar Fort. Came in as a safety, moved over to cornerback, comes from a very talented, athletic family. His brother, Kerry Fort, obviously a linebacker at Penn State before he went to Cal, and then several teams in the NFL. Really interested to see what he has to bring. The former staff was very high on Fort. They convinced him to enroll early. Coach Edsall actually brought Omar into the meeting room to meet with the media, a true freshman meeting with the media after just 3 or 4 practices. I think that really shows what Coach Edsall and defense coordinator Billy Crocker think of Omar Fort and the potential talent he could bring and overall skill set he could bring as a true freshman. I think he's going to be a factor as we head into 2017. And then the overall defensive style will also be something to watch. If defense coordinator Billy Crocker lets his guys go and get at it, are they going to try to pressure the quarterbacks? Are they going to more lay off and see what they have coverage-wise? Just as I did in 2016, I'm going to have first on the field coverage leading into kickoff on Friday. And, of course, full coverage during and following the game at thisisyuconncountry.com. So, really exciting spring game Friday night at the Rent. After the break, I'm going to have a conversation with St. John Bosco quarterback Rayal Mitchell on his visit to UConn from Saturday. Very talented quarterback coming all the way cross country. He visited Rutgers Friday, was on campus in Stores, took in the scrimmage that UConn had this past Saturday. One of a few very highly rated, highly sought after recruits. And Rayal Mitchell threw for over 3,000 yards, 31 touchdowns, ran for another 1,016 more touchdowns, and really the highest level of high school football in the nation. His team finished in the top 10 nationally. Their only loss was to the national champion. And he talked anything about his decision day, which is potentially May 1st, as well as what he thought of the UConn program, the campus, and the potential academics he would have at the University of Connecticut. I'm going to have that conversation coming up after the UConn Sports Minute. The UConn baseball team had a walk-off 4-3 win over in-state opponent Quinnipiac on Monday at J.O. Christian Field, as the Huskies got back to their winning ways, ending a 4-game losing streak. Second baseman Jack Lambert had the walk-off double that scored left fielder John Toppa in the bottom of the ninth to give UConn their 20th win of the year. UConn stands at 20-14 overall and 6-3 in AAC conference play. Baseball returns to action this afternoon, hosting UMass at 3 at J.O. Christian Field in Stores before heading to Orlando for a 3-game set this weekend, Friday through Sunday. The softball team has lost 7 of 8 games, but they also host UMass on Tuesday afternoon in Stores. UConn is 14-22 overall and just 1-7 in AAC play. And of course, the big event of the week, the football team will get to showcase their new staff, their new offensive and defensive philosophies under the lights on Friday night at the Rent. Parking lots open at noon, so get out, enjoy the weather to a long start of a weekend. And after the break, I'm going to have a conversation with St. John Bosco quarterback Rayal Mitchell on his visit to UConn from Saturday.
You're listening to UConn Sports Nation, presented by thisisuconcountry.com, where you'll find the latest news, game previews, and recruiting when it comes to UConn football.
On the UConn Sports Nation hotline is quarterback Rayal Mitchell from St. John Bosco out in California, who was on campus this past Saturday taking in the scrimmage on an unofficial visit at UConn. Rayal, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
So first up, coming from California, how do you like the trip to UConn, and what was your impression of the school and the football program as a whole?
Well, it was cool coming up to the East Coast and seeing a kind of rural campus and state. But, you know, being up there the whole day was cool, meeting the staff and some of the players and seeing that scrimmage like you mentioned before, seeing how, you know, the dynamics of the offense works, and then meeting with some of the coaches and getting to know their plan for me in the future. So it was a fun trip.
Did anything surprise you about the visit?
Surprise? Not really. You know, a lot of Division I universities are, you know, kind of along the same lines of how they function. So, no, nothing really surprised me.
Well, you mentioned the offense. What do you like about the offense, and what do you think of offensive coordinator Rhett Lashley?
Well, their offense is very very similar to my offense, and vice versa. So I sat down with Coach Lashley, and we looked at some film from his previous years at Auburn, and we run identical stuff. I was telling him my offensive terms for his plays, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, we run similar stuff, so it wouldn't be that hard of a transition if I was to go to UConn.
Now, in that offense, a year ago, you threw for over 3,000 yards, 31 touchdowns, ran for another 1,016 touchdowns on the ground. What type of quarterback are you? It seems like you're really a complete all-around quarterback.
Everyone labels me as a dual threat, which yep. I would definitely agree with. And but with that dual threat, I would think I'm kind of I call myself like a hybrid dual threat, because when you think about a lot of dual threats, you think about how a lot of them scramble around and then make plays off of that, whereas I'm as precise as a pocket passer and know when to get out of trouble, and when I do get out of trouble, I know what to do after that with my legs. So, and then having my track background definitely helps with that.
So you mentioned track. I know you were at practice earlier today. I think I read in one of the Long Beach papers you're the top 102-meter, 200-meter sprinter in your area for your class. Just talk about how your sprinting ability and your speed really helps you at the quarterback position.
I think my sprint ability definitely gives me an edge over the competition, and being 6 foot tall, you're kind of not kind of looked down upon, compared to these like 6'3", 6'4" quarterbacks. And to equalize that out, you got to be better at stuff that those 6'3" or 6'4" guys are, and not only better, but have more to offer. And that more to offer for me is my speed.
Now, on your visit, did you get a chance to sit down with head coach Randy Edsall?
I did, yes, sir, at the end of the visit.
What'd you like about that discussion?
I liked him a lot. My dad did especially. He really liked the fact that I'd be taken care of in that program and with that head coach. And my dad asked him, really tough questions that so that's all answered very, very along the lines that he wanted to hear. And he's a very respectable man in his resume, so he's a great coach.
Now I'm talking with quarterback Rael Mitchell from St. John Bosco out of California. Took in a visit at UConn this past weekend. I saw some rumors that you're looking to commit rather early, potentially on May 1st. Is that still the case, and what's going into that early decision?
Yeah, that's still the case. May 1st, I'm looking to commit. And as far as what's going into that decision, kind of just I have my top schools and whichever ones they're all kind of in the same situation where they're trying to establish a winning tradition back into their programs, and so and they're trying to look for playmakers like myself that will help that vision. And so it's kind of like, okay, well, where would I want to rebuild a program at, because all the programs that are recruiting me are kind of in the same situation. So I'm looking at, what feels like home to me.
I know part of your decision is education. I think your major wants to be kinesiology. Did you get a chance to learn about the academic side of UConn a little bit?
Yes, sir. Definitely met with some academic counselors, and they explained to me stuff that I'm even doing now and classes I'd take there to fulfill that kinesiology plan. And then I'm trying to go to PT school after that. So yeah, I met with a lot of good people, and they gave me a lot of good resources that I can use in the future.
Now, overall, what sort of factors are you going to be looking for in terms of what's going to make one school stand out above another?
Well, going through this recruiting process, I noticed that a lot of schools are the same. They have the same same facilities, and a lot of the same coaches and their philosophies. So it's coming down to, like I said earlier, what feels like home to me, and where can I see myself for 4 years playing ball and going to school there, and if there was an event of a coaching switch or something like that, would I still be happy there?
And I know you still have 1 year left at St. John Bosco. What are your goals for this upcoming year? I know you guys finished ranked in the top 10 nationally based on the last USA Today poll. What are you hoping to accomplish during your final year in high school?
Definitely trying to win the national championship. We kind of fell short of that this past season, and I'm definitely going to lead our team to a national championship this year.
Now, how does playing at Bosco and the level of competition you're playing against, how do you think that helps you prepare for playing at the college level?
I think it does wonders, especially at Bosco, where my offensive line, averages 6'5", 300. So that's similar to a Division I line at the next level. So I think that, and playing against the competition we play against, playing in one of the toughest leagues in the country that constantly produce Division I talent, is very helpful for me, and it will help in my transition into college.
Well, Ray, I definitely appreciate your time. Definitely good luck with the decision you have coming up on May 1st, and certainly as you move forward towards the end of the year.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That was quarterback Ray Mitchell. After the break, I'll have a conversation with Huskies junior starting pitcher Wills Montgomery after UConn began AAC play at 6-0 and found themselves ranked 25th in the nation.
You're listening to UConn Sports Nation, presented by ThisIsUConnCountry.com, where you'll find the latest news, game previews, and recruiting when it comes to UConn football. On the UConn Sports Nation hotline is UConn starting pitcher Wills Montgomery, a junior with the University of Connecticut baseball team who is on quite a winning streak of late. Wills, definitely appreciate your time.
Oh, no problem. Glad to be here.
So you're coming off your team's coming off a sweep of Memphis after a weekend of sweeping nationally ranked East Carolina. Just talk about the last 2 weekends and how the season's going thus far.
Oh, it's been unbelievable. It's been a ride. Our hitters have been phenomenal. They've been able to keep us in games, and then our pitching has been also unbelievable. Tim and Mason have been doing a great job, as with myself, and our bullpen has been pretty good too. We've just been hitting the stride lately, and feeling pretty good about ourselves, and have a lot of mojo going.
So you personally, you're 4-1 on the year, 3.64 ERA, 63 strikeouts already. How's this season progressed for you, and are you satisfied with your performance thus far?
It's pretty good. You can never be satisfied with what you're doing. I think I always can be better, and I feel like I should be better, especially being a junior this year. I just want to go out there every time and give my team an opportunity to win. But I think there's always areas where you can improve on as a pitcher and also as a team. But I'm pretty content right now, but I feel like there's a lot more I can do the rest of the season.
Now, during the offseason, you had a chance to play in the Cape Cod League, won a championship there with Yarmouth Dennis, the Red Sox. Just talk about that experience, and how did that help you being around some high-profile college players?
It was unbelievable, especially facing one of the best hitters in college baseball. It builds on your confidence. If you're able to get these guys out and be able to do that for a month and a half and bring home the hardware too, that's awesome. But I feel like being able to face those type of hitters and being able to have confidence in your stuff and your ability, it has gone a long way for myself this season.
Now, as your career has progressed, you were 3-2 in 2015, 6-3 in 16, as I mentioned, 4-1 this year. How have you developed, and what are your personal goals individually this season? Is it getting more wins? Is it improving your ERA? Is it keeping guys off base? What are some of the goals you have for yourself to help improve your game?
Well, I think the ultimate goal is getting home on helping my team win, but I feel like there's aspects of my game that I can improve, such as controlling the running game, not letting guys steal second base as much on me. Being able to control the running game is probably the most important thing as a pitcher, but I feel like I just need to go out there every time, and if I give my team, our team a shot to win, then that's my job. I don't care what the stat line is, as long as I gave us a shot, then I'll be happy with myself.
I'm talking with Wills Montgomery on the UConn Sports Nation hotline.
just summarizing the UConn baseball season thus far, you mentioned Omaha. You guys are getting a little bit of national recognition, coming in at number 25 in this week's poll. What's that mean to you, and are you guys extra hyped seeing that recognition?
We're very pumped up, but we know the work's not done. It can change in a heartbeat, and we know we got to keep the foot on the gas and just keep pushing, keep plugging away, and just take each game. That's it. You can't look at the future right now, but being recognized as a top 25 team is something we feel like we've earned, I think, for this year, but I feel like we need to keep improving.
And I'm sure Coach Penders has you guys keeping your head or keeping you guys grounded, so to speak. Just talk about Coach Penders and what he means to this team and what you've been able to learn from him over the last 3 years.
Oh, absolutely. He's been probably one of the guys in the dugout that's always remained cool, even in the toughest moments, and that's allowed us as a team to stay relaxed, stay within ourselves, and just be able to, fight each game, just grind out each game, and don't get down on yourself when it's going bad, and don't get too hyped up on yourself when it's going good. So he just keeps us at an even keel, I guess. But yeah.
And then you are a Connecticut native from Lakeville, Connecticut. Played at Salisbury School. What does it mean playing for your state university?
Oh, it's awesome. I really can't put it into words. Being able to represent for your state is something I never really dreamed of, but now it's something that I feel honored to do, because I know that every time I go out and I pitch, it's for UConn, which is Connecticut, so it's unbelievable.
And a final question for Wills Montgomery of the UConn baseball team. You spend a lot of time on the road. How unique is that for you as a team? Some of the other sports, they hang around campus a lot, but you guys do travel, especially early on in the season. You were down south, out west. How does that bring you guys closer together as a team?
Just being able to experience different places around the country is awesome, but it also brings us together because we're constantly on buses together, constantly on airplanes, constantly in hotels together. It's just, you're basically never away from each other, and sometimes that can get a little bit much, but it also brings you together, and it allows you to connect with some, like the younger guys. So say, you don't really get to hang out with them preseason because you're not always with them, but now you get to learn more about them and know what they're all about because you're always with them. So I think that allows us to get closer, just the constant interaction with each other, but it's something else. It's basically we travel every weekend. We traveled 7 straight weekends, I think, for the beginning of the season, and was actually glad to get home for one weekend. But it's been fun.
Well, Wells, I definitely appreciate your time, and certainly good luck the rest of the year. We'll be following you as you finish up your junior year.
All right, thank you very much.
That's all the time I have on today's edition of UConn Sports Nation. I'll have full coverage later today from the final open practice before spring football closes on Friday, featuring head coach Randy Edsall's press conference, video highlights, photos, and much, much more. Until next time, go Huskies.
You're listening to UConn Sports Nation, presented by ThisIsUConnCountry.com, where you'll find the latest news, game previews, and recruiting when it comes to UConn football.